This is a video to Maslow's and just in general. On Maslow's, we've agreed and disagreed on many things, but I feel that the conversation is retarded in this one respect, but I don't blame you. And I mean retarded, of course, technically, meaning it's slower than it should be. In this one element of, you give me a comment saying reality is not all in our head. And I've never said reality was in our head. I think you should be able to understand that I'm not disagreeing about if there is a reality. We're disagreeing about how to define the elements of reality. We're disagreeing on a theory of modeling what reality is like. And the example of the sky is supposed to illustrate to you that humans create an object out of their own convenience, right? We wake up and we can model the sky as if it was a thing with properties. But we know we're just looking off in space, Materially, there's a material thing, the sky, right? At the best, the sky could be a direction, right, relative to a human being. Right? The sky is not the atmosphere, because, planes are in the sky and they're in the atmosphere, but stars are also in the sky and they're not even anywhere near us at all, right? We create this because our mind is object-oriented. It's a computer. We use objects to bundle together billions of details of all this little, discrete experiences of red or texture, and we go, oh, look, that's all coming from the cat. And then we could think of it as the cat as a single thing for efficiency. There's some error introduced, but this is how it always is in applied mathematics or logic. There's some error introduced when you make those simplifications. But it can pay off, right? Because you can't keep up with a million details, and the amount of accuracy it gives you generally you don't care about. But the problem is we model all our knowledge on all of these things like the cat, which do well with an object-oriented model, but we live our lives in this human world where a lot of our concepts, like honesty, are more like the sky than they are like a cat. They're more like bundles of experiences we put together because we see the similarity in a binding feature. And phenomenologically, there can be a binding feature, right? The sky really is phenomenologically a consistent thing to us, meaning we can consistently model it. But when I say things are in your head, I'm talking about the fact that we look out there and we know we don't find the essence of a thing. All right, you could say, well, I theorize it's there. Yeah, but you're assuming that it's there. I'm saying you can't assume. You just have to look at these relationships. And since you have to look at them first, they're more primary, right? Now, calling it a relationship true is a step. It's calling it a relationship is saying I'm not a material solipsist, right? Because all we really know is we have perceptions. But I think you can establish the concept of relationship just from your individual perceptions, because the perceptions have relationships to each other and to you, and yourself model yourself as a thing. You have these relationships, and it's a bit semantic because, going back further, all we know is that there's these perceptions. Maybe they relate to nothing, not even themselves, but it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be they do relate to each other, and you can triangulate down, and you can explain your perceptions with an object model. But it does fail. Okay, an object model doesn't explain a lot of things in science now, but they can be explained. You don't need an objective model to do it. You can do it with the relativistic model. Right? But the thing I'm telling you is not to agree with me on all those points, but just on the fact that you should realize I'm not denying that there is a reality. I'm denying that, for example, Aristotle's model of reality was as cutting edge as we can do now. It's not. All right. And you seem stuck thinking that if I'm going to deny this objective model, then I'm denying reality, because those are one and the same, but they're not. We have phenomena. We have other words. We use the word phenomena, and we're trying to explain the phenomena. A universe full of things with properties is just one way to explain it, and we know that that doesn't work in a lot of cases. Okay, you can't define species that way. You can't define a lot of things that are important to humans that way. It doesn't work as logic. Mathematically, it does not work. And you want to focus on the cases where it does work, but, that's like you're going to focus on all the cases where Newtonian math is good enough and say, so it works. but we know that there's components missing, and we just don't care about them. They give us accuracy we don't care about in a lot of cases. To say that it doesn't exist, that factor, that accuracy doesn't exist, well, that's obviously wrong. Just because we've chosen to make an approximation doesn't mean reality must be the way we've decided to approximate it. That doesn't go with statistics and approximation. And there are ways to establish relative knowledge, and there aren't ways to establish knowledge of essence. So I would think you'd give up on that. But if you don't want to, fine. But if you're going to pretend that my denying your model of reality means I deny that there is reality, then you're just trying to assert ahead of time. You're begging the question. You're asserting that if there is a reality, it has to be object-oriented. And I say no, and I think it's pretty well established. I could see we're never going to agree on it if you can't even acknowledge the meaning of this example of sky to get where I'm coming from, and you're just going to keep saying, oh, well, you're denying there is that you can look up at the space because you say it's not a sky, so therefore it doesn't exist, so you can't see it. No, it exists as a phenomena, just not as a thing. There's other ways to describe phenomena besides things. So, I mean, you should at least understand and not pretend that I am denying reality. You know, if I deny your theory of X, that does not mean I'm denying X, right? Okay, cheers.